This episode is powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to want to check out Pod Decks. Now, if you want to get 10% off your order right now, you can go to poddecks.com and type in coupon code. What's the code?
Larry21.
Yes, that's the code. Check out poddecks.com. Take your podcast to the next level.
Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. I'm your host, Larry Leese. Today we're diving into the latest box office news, movie news, and streaming news from around the industry. Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. I'm your host, Larry Leese. Today we're diving into the latest movie news from around the industry. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Pod Decks, for sponsoring this episode. Pod Decks are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or gamify their podcast. Simply shuffle up, ask a question, and let the content roll. Get yours today, poddecks.com, and use code Larry21 for 10% off your order. That's Larry21 for 10% off your order at poddecks.com. And now on to our main topic number one. And topic number one is West Side Story debuts at number one with a $10.5 million box office haul. Disney's Encanto falls to number two this weekend as Steven Spielberg's West Side Story narrowly takes the number one spot. Steven Spielberg's long-awaited West Side Story adaptation debuted at number one at the box office this weekend. The remake of the classical musical fell below initial box office predictions, but it was still able to steal the number one spot from Disney, albeit by a small margin. West Side Story has an A grade with CinemaScore, and it's been receiving praise from critics, but that was not enough to get audiences in theaters over the weekend. With that being said, insiders believe West Side Story will build momentum throughout the holiday season and into next year. While this weekend was a bit of a sleeper for the overall box office, next weekend is expected to see some big changes, with the highly anticipated Spider-Man No Way Home, with the movie starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jon Favreau, Marissa Tomei, Benedict Wong, Jamie Foxx, Alfred Molina, William Dafoe, Thomas Hayden Church. Marvel Cinematic Universe fans are eagerly waiting to see how Peter Parker gets himself out of the bind created in Spider-Man Far From Home. And initial projections have the movie taking in $500 million globally in its first weekend in theaters. Disney's Encanto fell to number two this weekend after bringing in $9.4 million, which is only down 28% from last weekend. As of this writing, Encanto has earned $151.8 million globally since debuting in theaters 3 weeks ago. Ghostbusters Afterlife fell from number 2 to 3 this weekend with $7.1 million. The latest offering from the Ghostbusters franchise has earned $164.5 million globally since debuting in theaters a month ago. Meanwhile, House of Gucci took the fourth spot with $4 million. Eternals remained at number 5 this weekend after earning $3.1 million. The divisive MCU installment has earned $395 million globally after 6 weeks in theaters. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City remained at number 6 this weekend after bringing in just $1.6 million. The latest adaptation in the long-running video game series has been praised by fans for being faithful to the source material. While the story has been heavily criticized, Clifford the Big Red Dog remained at number 7 after bringing in $1.3 million. Christmas with the Chosen, The Messengers, fell to number 8 this weekend with $1.2 million. Dune took the 9th position with $857,000. Denis Villeneuve and Warner Brothers will tell the rest of Frank Herbert's sci-fi epic in a second installment, which has some longtime fans excited after waiting years for a proper big-screen adaptation. And finally, Venom, Let There Be Carnage came in at number 10 after earning $850,000. As of this podcast, the sequel has earned $493.3 million globally. As always, you can get these numbers and more at The Numbers. Just visit the-numbers.com for more on the weekend's box office. And our second topic is Kingsman number 3 is set to start filming this September. Good news for Kingsman fans. Waiting 4 years for more thrilling spy adventures might just pay off. Ahead of the Kingsman arriving in theaters, Matthew Vaughn has announced that Kingsman 3 is on the way. Naturally, just as audiences were preparing to head back into the 1900s, we get word that the Kingsman verse is jumping back into the present, continuing the adventures of everyone's favorite, hilariously nicknamed Agent Eggsy. Not to be confused with the film arriving in theaters later this month, Kingsman 3 will be the fourth in the franchise, continuing where Kingsman: The Golden Circle left off. Vaughn told comicbook.com, quote, "We're all set to go. We start filming in September." Vaughn was politely withholding, of course, offering no further details on which cast members were set to return, or even hint to a title. To quote the franchise's famous line, "Manners maketh the sequel." That's the phrase, right? I might be wrong on that. Between the Disney-Fox merger and the year-long delay of the Kingsman, it's been a while since we heard any solid updates on this franchise's future. Back in 2020, we learned that Vaughn has big plans to continue the franchise with something like 7 more films, so a continuation of Eggsy's story seemed inevitable. The franchise first began with his entry into the spy organization in Kingsman: The Secret Service. And major developments in the sequel knocked big characters off the board, adding a new face to the fray, but always kept Eggsy front and center. The second film introduced an entirely new spy organization, the Kingsman's American counterpart, the Statesman. This not only opened up the possibility of an American-based spin-off, but added the likes of Channing Tatum, Halle Berry, Pedro Pascal into the mix. Also, Elton John was there. Entirely unrelated to the Statesman business, but still very important. Whether or not the Statesman will continue being a part of Eggsy's story or simply branch off into their own film remains to be seen. Our next look at the Kingsman franchise comes in the form of a chaotic prequel exploring the origin story of the spy organization in the most insane fashion possible. The Kingsman is a race against time that brings together history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds as they plot a war to wipe out millions, leaving one man and his protege to save the world. Somewhere in the midst of this utter insanity, Vaughn has hinted towards the upcoming 4th film. He previously told Empire, quote, "We've put seeds for what's going to happen in Kingsman 3 all the way back into this, and it's going to be very different." Taron Egerton seems to be the only sure bet for Kingsman 3, as he previously confirmed a script concluding Eggsy's story. But before he returns to his suit and tie, prepare to see Ralph Fiennes lead the show as Kingsman agents in just a few weeks. And our next topic, the Fantastic Beasts 3 trailer has finally been released. Warner Brothers has released the official Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, offering deeper insight into the Harry Potter prequel. Warner Brothers released the official Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore trailer, offering deeper insight into the prequel. The upcoming film marks the 3rd installment in the Fantastic Beasts series, with overall franchise vet David Yates once again at the helm with a script from author J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves. Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore picks up a few years after the events of its predecessor in the time leading up to the Wizarding World's involvement in World War II. And we'll see the Hogwarts professor entrust Newt Scamander and his friends to embark on a mission that will clash with the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald and his growing army. Eddie Redmayne once again leads the ensemble cast of Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore, alongside returning stars Catherine Waterston, Dan Fogler, Ezra Miller, Jessica Williams, and Jude Law. The film will see a big shift in its casting with the introduction of Mads Mikkelsen to the franchise as Grindelwald, replacing the previous actor Johnny Depp